things that aren't alive and they can talk to each other. I once went out with some children by the River Thames here in London, and we did a poem where that great big London eye, spoke to the River Thames, and the River Thames spoke to the London eye, saying why they were jealous of each other, because the River Thames said to the London eye, "It's all very well for you. You turn round all day," and the London eye looked down, said to the River Thames, "God, I wish I could go sailing out to sea," and things like that. So you could do that about anything, any object at all. You could do a conversation between my glasses and my nose. Why not? So we've got another shout out now. This is from Ibrahim Davis Morris, who's from Indianapolis in Indiana. Wow, that's such a long time away. I think maybe the middle of the night for you there, mightn't it? And you say, "Me and my best friend love your stories, and I was wondering if you could give a shout out to my friend Paige Brown on her birthday, September the 23rd. So there we are. We've said hello to Paige and we've said hello to Ibrahim, which is wonderful. And then we've got a shout out to Chris from Texas. "I have a question to ask you. How do you go about getting an editor or publisher when you don't have any money for one? I'm in need of getting my short stories published, edited, the whole works. Can you give me some advice?" Well, you're in Texas, Chris. The way to get stories published, you have to find somebody, a special person, and they're called this in America as well as Britain. They're called an agent. Yes, you have to find that person. Now, in Britain here, if anybody's listening and watching in Britain, if you want to get your stories published, you can go to the library and find a book called Children's Writers and Artists Yearbook. And when you look in there, it's got a long list of agents, people who can help you get published. In America and in other countries, you'll have something very similar published by your book people, which has a list of all the agents. So that's how you have to start with that. Now let's see who we got here. Is anyone giving me any messages? Let's have a look. Can you give a shout out to Ruben and Sean? That comes from somebody called something like Nye2. And audiobooks for kids say, "Hi Michael." That's very kind. Yes, there are. You've had a shout out. And so there we are. These are coming up, so I'm saying hello to you. Now, Jade and Philpotts have sent in a joke. Here's my joke. Today, at the bank, a lady told me to check her balance. So I pushed her over. There you go. That's not bad, is it? That's quite a good one. "Hello, Mr. Rosen. My name is Mark Mason, but you may call me Mark." That's very kind of you, Mark. "I've made a poem taking inspiration from you, but first I have one question. What is your favourite that you had to perform?" So I think you maybe mean my favourite poem or story. Well, I suppose I like that one that begins, "We had a teacher who was so strict we weren't allowed to breathe in her lesson. She used to stand out front and say, 'No breathing.' We had to get through from the time we first came to school till morning play like this. And the weak ones just used to keel over. Kaboom, kaboom, kaboom. And there was always a whiny kid going, 'Miss, can we go out and do some breathing?' And she'd say, 'No, you've got all playtime to do it in.' And they'd go, 'Oh, go on, miss, oh, go on, go on.' Well, that one, I really do enjoy performing that one. And I was in a school the other day. Hello, Exmouth Community College, if you're there. I was there and I was talking to 500 year sevens, and they got me to do that one, and they all joined in, and it was great. It was wonderful just seeing all those people joining in, going, 'No breathing,' and then let's have a look now and see what else we've got. It could be, yeah. So it would mean a lot if you could answer this question and look at this poem I made called Tick-Tock. And this is like a sort of, well, it's not exactly a rap, but I can see it's sort of like it goes tick-tock, look at the clock, tick-tock, it never stops. Tick-tock, look at the clock, tick-tock, it's 12 o'clock. Tick-tock, look at the clock, tick-tock, it's time to jog. Tick-tock, look at the clock, tick-tock, it's 10 o'clock. Tick-tock, look at the clock, tick-tock, it's time to stop. Tick-tock, look at the clock, tick-tock, it's 8 o'clock. Tick-tock, look at the clock, tick-tock, it's time to hop. Tick-tock, look at the clock, tick-tock, it's 6 o'clock. Tick-tock, look at the clock, tick-tock, we never stop. Tick-tock, look at the clock, tick-tock, it's 4 o'clock. Tick-tock, look at the clock, tick-tock, we need to jog. Tick-tock, look at the clock, tick-tock, it's 2 o'clock. Tick-tock, look at the clock, tick-tock, we made it back to the shop. Tick-tock, and we never stopped. I quite like that. That's a good idea, isn't it? Where you use a sound like tick-tock and then you build your poem round it because it gives you the rhythm. And in fact, if you were doing that, say, with a group of you, what you could have is everybody in the group going tick-tock, tick-tock, tick-tock like that. And then you could say the poem over the top. Because with your words that you can make a rhythm, just like you have dub and bass or rhythm and bass you have in bands and in jazz. And you can take someone's name or you can take a sound and you can make poems over the top. So if you take my name or your name, you see, I can go Michael Rosen, Michael Rosen, Michael Rosen. And that's like going, you see, Michael Rosen, Michael Rosen. It's the on beat, Michael, and that's the off beat. So if you're playing a drum, it's bam, 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 Michael Rosen. And then you can make a poem that goes over the top of it. He's got hair on his head, Michael Rosen. He's wearing glasses, Michael. See, like that? And you can do that so with TikTok. That's lovely. Thanks ever so much for sending that in. So now we've got some news. Here we've got some news. So I've got some new books out. Okay, I hope you're going to see in a minute that I've got one called Uncle Gob and the Plot. And I've got it here. And you should be able to be seeing that on the screen now. At least I hope so. Dave, have we got that on the screen? Dave's got it, put it on the screen. That's lovely. So that's out now. It's available at bookshops and libraries. And this is the third book, my third book in the Uncle Gob series. And it's got illustrations by the brilliant Neil Layton. And I've got a little profile of Neil Layton that I've put in this book at the end. Let's see. Neil started drawing, painting and writing a long time ago. Not as long ago as the Romans or the Saxons or the Normans. The Romans, Saxons, Normans wore helmets. Neil does not wear a helmet, not even when he's drawing, painting and writing. You could say that Neil is an artist. You could also say that because he draws, he's a drawer. The trouble with saying that, though, is that you might think he's someone who lives in a chest of drawers. Neil does have a chest, but that doesn't mean that he's a chest of drawers. So that's quite nice about Neil. So I did a profile of me as well for this book. Michael was born and brought up in a flat, but that didn't make him flat. He is not flat. He now lives in a house that isn't a flat, and the house isn't flat either. In fact, so far, nothing in this profile of Michael Rosen is flat. Now here comes a flat bit. When Michael sings, he often sings flat. That means singing a tiny bit too low, like you want to go for a walk under the sofa, but it's too low. Michael has never walked under a sofa. So there's a helpful profiles in the back of the book. I don't know whether you can see that. Yeah. And there'll be a taster of the latest Uncle Gob book released on the channel, on our channel, very soon. So that's Kids, Poems and Stories with Michael Rosen. There'll be a taster of it. I'll be reading the first 3 chapters of Uncle Gob and the Plot. So please look out for that. Now we've got more book news. We've got another new book coming out, and this one's called Unexpected Twist. Yeah, it's called Unexpected Twist, and this one's illustrated by the great, the wonderful Tony Ross. You may have seen his pictures with the David Walliams books, and it's my modern take on the classic story of Oliver Twist by Charles Dickens. So I've told another story, and you can read a bit of Oliver Twist, all right, and at the same time a brand new story about a girl called Shona. So what's that got to do with Oliver Twist? Well, think about this. Any story that you ever know, what you can do is just change it a bit and write your own story. You can change when it was. You can change the main character from a boy to a girl, from a girl to a boy. If you've got parents, you could maybe make them the children and make the children the parents. Or you could make it so the story's in the future. Or you could turn it all into Alien. So you could take any famous story. I don't know what stories you like. It could be a Roald Dahl story or a famous story from before, like Robinson Crusoe or something like that. And then you make up your own stories. Have you ever seen the film The Martian with Matt Damon? You know what story that is? Robinson Crusoe. Think about it. Great. Okay, so again, that book, there it is, Unexpected Twist. That's available now in bookshops and libraries. And another book that's coming out very, very soon is my book called Hampstead the Hamster. There it is, Hampstead the Hamster. I don't know if you can see that. And this one is illustrated again by the wonderful Tony Ross. There we go. So Hampstead the Hamster. And that begins, more than anything else in the world, Leo wanted a hamster. He knew that a hamster would make him happier than a fried egg. What? Fried eggs aren't happy? Ah, but Leo always thought that fried eggs are happy. So there we are. That's Hamstered the Hamster, and that's coming out very soon. So now, back to some comments from you guys, because over on YouTube, we've had messages and comments too. So Wolf Easy, or Wolf EZ, says, tell the story on how you went to the moon with me. I'm sorry? Wolf Easy says, or Wolf EZ, whichever it is, if he's from America, it's easy. Tell the story on how you went to the moon with me. Well, yes, that's right. I remember this very well. Wolf came over my place and he said, can we go to the moon? And I said, yeah, because I've got a really good chair. And this chair's got like little rockets. Instead of the legs, they're made of like some special kind of high octane fuel and rockets. And then there was one for him, one for me, and we went, let's go to the moon, Wolf. And away we went. We shot through the glass bit in the back of my house, so we smashed that, which was a shame really, because it cost quite a lot of money to put in. Like that. And we went flying through the moon. And as we were flying, we saw all sorts of various other things. I mean, it was fine. You know, wolf is obviously a wolf. We saw a few foxes, a few aliens, one or two other people going, oh, nice, on the way. And then we landed on the moon. And it's not made of cheese. This is the incredible thing. It's made of banana spread. It's mixed up mashed banana is what the moon is made of. And we ate some of that, and we're still there. So that's what happened when me and Wolf went to the moon. Thanks for asking. So here we've now got Pika Scar Alt says, I sent an email, hope I get picked, but probably won't. You know, when I saw that first, I thought that said pickled, but it doesn't, does it? Hope I get picked, but probably won't. But you have been. So there we are. Pika Scar Alt, that was. Nikki Foggy says, hi, can you give me a shout out? I'm called Jessica Hilda. Now that's quite muddling, because one minute you're Nikki Foggy and the next minute you're Jessica Hilda. Are you two people? We'll find out. Sam Ferreter says, what inspired you to make this channel? Do you know what it was? I have a son called Joe. And Joe filmed me once going, chum, 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 chum. We're going on a bear hunt. We're going to catch a big one. You know that thing. Well, that's what I was doing. And then he said, well, why don't you do some more poems? And one of my books you couldn't buy in the shops anymore, called The Hypnotizer. And so he had the idea that what we could do is make a whole set of videos of the poems from that book. But it was really Joe's idea. And so he found an old warehouse. And so all those first videos, you've seen them. There's Hot Food and some others there. Laura singing. Have you seen that one? I think Laura's over there, actually. Yeah, it is. She's not actually singing, but the same Laura who does Laura singing from The Hypnotizer. Yeah, so that book, I did those, and that was really Joe's idea. So it's thanks to Joe, Sam. Now, let's have a look and see what we've got. Asthathan Place says that he can do the tongue click. He says he can do the sound. I wonder, do you think he can? I keep meeting people who do the thing where you make a kind of sound off the top of the roof of your mouth, but I do it like that. It's different. Oh, yes. Now, let's see who else we've got. Tell the story of how you defeated my cousin, the Dalek King. Well, that's quite an interesting idea. Yes. Do you know about Daleks? Maybe some of you in America, if you're watching this, you won't know. They're like little alien things that go about in a TV series we have over here called Doctor Who, and they go, exterminate, exterminate. But I don't think anyone's ever exterminated them. So anyway, Scratch Whoevos says, hi Michael, can you please give a shout out to Nacho, Alvaro and Jose from Spain? Well, now I have, and I hope I've pronounced those names right. I'm not very good at Spanish. In fact, I haven't really learnt anything at all, I'm afraid. I've learnt some French, but I haven't really learnt any Spanish. And when I see the word Nacho, the first thing I think about are those things, which is not really very helpful, is it? Audiobooks for Kids says, I want Mr. Rosen to be my grandpa. I'm sorry, that's not possible. But I'm already a step-grandpa, and very soon I'm going to be a grandpa, or as you'd say in Yiddish, which was the language that my mum and dad could speak, I'm going to be a Zayda In America, I think you say a Zadie. Well, I'm going to be a Zada. Fancy that. Zada Michael, or Zada Mick, as some people call me. Very good. And Cloen Tropur, 69. If you're French, Cloen Tropur, 69. Hi, Michael. Tell us your favourite type of cheese. Well, I think that's probably Le Roquefort. Yes, lovely. And Zoe Zalayana says, hello, greetings from the Netherlands. Lovely. Well, that's all from Super Chat for the time being, but keep them coming. And let's have a look and see what else. Belha is an English teacher at a Korean elementary school in a fairly rural area. Are you maybe planning a worldwide tour? I'm not, I'm afraid, Belha. No. For a worldwide tour, people would have to ask me. They'd have to ask me whether I'd want to come and visit their country. I have been asked to Australia, but I can't do that. And you say, because I think you're amazing. That's very kind of you, Belha. And my students would benefit greatly from your performance. Some of my students know your book and love every sentence of it. The 6th and 5th graders are actually doing a book performance of one of your We're Going on a Bear Hunt. In case a world tour is part of your busy schedule, it would be greatly appreciated if you consider Korea. Ha ha, she says. Or he, yes, she says. I hope you have a blast for your promo. That's very, very kind. Well, you know, if anybody wants to ask me, if there's anybody in Korea who says, Michael Rosen, come out here, somebody might have to pay for my airplane fare. But anyway, it's possible. Andy Harry says, please could you give a shout out to Harry Tozer on your live stream? It would be very much appreciated. There we are, it's been done. Harry Tozer. Jimmy Soto says, I've loved hearing your poem since I discovered you in late 2016. Wow, that long time ago. As I've seen some of your older poems, my favourites are Conversations with a 2-Year-Old. Yeah, that's up there. Do you know who that 2-year-old was? I have a funny feeling that was Laura. I have a funny feeling it was either Laura or her brother. So those were true conversations that I put in the book. And Jimmy Soto says he also likes Strict, which is once again, no breathing. Exactly. I would like it if you could recite either Strict or Conversations with a 2-Year-Old during your next live web chat. Well, we did quite a chunk of Strict. We did that before, didn't we? So I hope that's all right for you. So thanks from America, says Jimmy Soto. And Mr. Builder has sent in some jokes. Here we go. What did the blanket say to the bed? You got any thoughts on that? What did the blanket say to the bed? It said, I've got you covered. Well, it would, wouldn't it? How'd you find a princess? Yeah, no? You follow the footprints. Got it? Follow the footprints. Yes? Print. No, anyway, that's all right. What do you call a book that's about the brain? A mind reader. These are good. Well done, Mr. Builder. I like that. I might steal that one. How do you find a princess? You follow the footprints. You with that one? You all got that one? Yeah, Prince. Yeah. Anyway, lovely, good. Now for some more YouTube comments. Gaming with O says, read out my name. Orla. Yes, indeed, Orla. There we are. We've read it out. Killer Machine says, it's my birthday on the 25th. Wait, no, I have school that day. Oh dear, what a shame. Eggs for Day says, Michael, you remind me of my Gramps. Gramps. Yeah, we don't usually say Gramps in England. Do we say Gramps? Do we say Gramps there, Matt? No. Cameraman Matt says no. Gramps. Do we say Gramps? Do you say Gramps, Dave? Oh, he did. Dave says yes. Right, so there we are. Gramps. We do say Gramps. I know about cramps, but not Gramps. Rachel Sarchet, or maybe Sarchet if it's French. Please, I'm early. Could I have a shout out? Well, if you're French, I'll say bonjour. Rachel Sarchet. And the Pretzel Boy. Do you like pretzels, Pretzel Boy? They're quite nice, aren't they? Do you like the salty ones or the sugary ones? Yeah. Michael, it would mean the world to me if you gave me a shout out. It would mean so much. And then Soccerboss687 says, can we see you, brother? I don't know. Can we see me? I can't see me. I can only see a camera. See, right there is this big camera and it's on what's called a tripod, 3 legs, just like they got in War of the Worlds. Have you seen that Tom Cruise War of the Worlds and those big tripods? Yeah. Well, that's what's sitting in front of me, a tripod, and Matt looks a bit like Tom Cruise. He's nodding. Yeah, he's a modest guy. Yeah, and so what's going on here is like a mini War of the Worlds movie. So there's the camera. So I can't see you, but the camera can see me. That's magic. And then we've got AYYLMAO says, can you please spend more time reading the comments on your live stream? Thanks. Oh, right. Okay, what have we got? Yang's right arm says, who's modding the chat? My bet's on Dave. Well, you might have to bet about that. It might be Dave. It might be Laura. Or it might be Matt. Who is it? I'm not going to tell you. Who else? Let's see now. AM Vlog says, hi, can you shout out me and my friend Jace? Mad Moths says, Michael, can I get a shout out? So I'm doing my best here. Paul Mack says, please say hello to Queen's Park Primary. Yes, hello, Queen's Park Primary. I visited you, haven't I? Yes, if it is the same, maybe several Queen's Parks around. Yes, well, if it is the same, hi, because we've done the university, haven't we? The Westminster University thing. I hope you're the same ones. Very good. And who else? Let's have a look. Jade Philpotts, I think we've already talked, haven't we? Or Jada, maybe I got your name wrong. Maybe it's Jada. Hanksterman Entertainment says, do you play video games, Michael? I don't. A long time ago, I used to play something called Tekken 3. That was about, 25 years ago with my late son, my son who died. I think maybe you know about him, Eddie. And we used to play Tekken 3. And do you know what? When I play video games, I get travel sick. You know that feeling you get when you're in the back of the car and whoever's mum and dad's driving, and as you're swerving about and you start to feel all kind of a bit like that, or you get a funny feeling in the back of your neck. Well, when I play video games, I get exactly the same feeling. So I don't know, it's a bit odd. I know Matt's looking at me like, there's something wrong with me. I don't know, I just get travel sick, Matt. I'm sorry. Well, anyway, there you go. And Alien Child says, hi, Michael, how are you today? I'm fine. And do you know, Laura brought me a very nice bean wrap just before we came on air. And do you know, it was incredibly nice. I think it had butternut squash in it. Did it have butternut squash in it? It did. Laura says yes. So it was really nice. So I'm feeling really good. She said, if you don't have something to eat before you come on air, you'll feel bad. So that was very thoughtful of her, wasn't it? It was very nice. And Pink Unicorn says, good day he says, good day from the land down under. Well, that's very nice of you. That's very nice, Pink Unicorns. Thank you. And you're telling me about all sorts of games. Racer Ryan 86 says, do you still talk to Haribo? Now, some of you will know about Haribo from my poems and stories. Haribo, very, very sad story with Haribo. I'm afraid he died. He died when he was 17, and I only found out when many years later I went back to my old school and I met a parent who was in fact the same age as me. I was in my 30s, and I said, did you ever see Haribo? And this guy, whose name was Jimmy, he said, well, no, he died when he was 17. Why didn't I know? Because we went to different schools, so I never knew. I went to a school called Harrow Weald, he went to a school called Headstone Lane, and I never knew. And I'd moved away from that area as well, so I never knew. I wrote about it. It's in my book called You Wait Till I'm Older Than You. Do you know why it's called that? Because Laura's brother, Isaac, we were having a fight, and he was about 3 and I was about 40, and I was winning. Like you might do, if you fight with a 3-year-old and you're 40, you might win. He got really, really angry with me, okay? And he stood up and he said, you wait till I'm older than you. And then he tried to think of something really horrible to say to me. So he said, you, bear poo. That's what he called me. His own father, his own dad, he called bear poo. How bad is that, eh? Anyway, so that's what happened there. So now let's have a look, see who else we've got. We've got a shout out to Kai Robinson. He would like to know, how old are you? By the way, I'm 13 years old. Well, Kai, the honest truth is I was born in 1946, so that makes me 72. But when I go into schools, I tell a bit of a fib, and I say that I was born in the Stone Age, and I'm 3,072 years old. And of course, in the Stone Age, we didn't have things like this, in a chair like that. We just sat on a rock. We didn't have, everything was like made of stone, rock. We just sat on a rock at home. I go, Mum, it's really uncomfortable. My bum hurts. And she'd say, shush, it's not the chair age yet. And I said, the table was just like an old rock as well, you see. And I say, Mum, it's really horrible. Shush, it's not the table age yet. And then all we ate was like rocks and stones and stuff. I went, oh, it really hurt your tooth, Mum, I don't like this. She'd say, shush, eat your gravel. And then we didn't have a TV, didn't have television, just a rock in the corner of the room, sat staring at the rock. Like that. That's all we had, just staring at a rock. And then we'd say, what's on the rock tonight, Mum? And Mum had a really bad joke this. She'd go out, get another rock, put it on top of the rock and say, the rock's on the rock. It's not very funny, Mum, not very funny. Go to school, exactly the same thing. You sat on a rock, and then in front of you, just no desk or table or anything, just a rock. Miss used to say, take out your rock. Yeah, so you take out a rock, you say, write on your rock. And you had like a little stone, and you go, hoo, hoo. We couldn't speak, you see, in the Stone Age. Hoo, hoo, like that. Miss, can I go out and do some breathing? You see, that's where it all started. Because in the Stone Age, you weren't allowed to breathe in lessons. So anyway, that's all true, that. Well, nearly. Okay, so Molly, aged 8 in North Yorkshire, says, have you ever done any of your own illustrations or drawings for your own written works? Not really, because you see, Molly, I'm not very good at drawing. This is the only drawing I can do. I bet all of you are better at drawing than I am. I'm going to show this to Matt, the cameraman, in a minute. I don't know whether he's going to be able to zoom in to see it. Okay, so look, Matt, can you see that? If I hold it there, and that's an example of my incredible skills in painting and drawing. Have you got it there, Matt? Have you lined it up?
Yeah.
Yeah, there we go. So that's me. That's my picture of me. So as you can see, I'm not really good enough for people to ask me to do pictures in books. And then Molly says, aged 8 in North Yorkshire, why did the jelly wobble? Because it saw the milkshake. Because it saw the milkshake. Good, lovely. Hi, we've got another one. My name is Yesine. I wonder when you started your YouTube channel. I got onto your channel when you became a meme. Right, when did we start our YouTube channel? I think we did the bear hunt, the very first one. That's about 10 years old, I think. I'm not sure, I think so. And then we started the channel a wee bit later when we started doing my book called The Hypnotizer. So I think that's about 7 or 8 years old, all right? And you got onto it when I became a meme. Well, it is a bit scary, that meme thing, to think that, I don't know, the people all over the world just know me as the person who goes, oh, nice, just from that, just that little ka-chung. And I think it's been seen by something like 10 million people. Do you know, when I go on a bus or I'm on the train, I can hear people on the other part of the carriage or the other part of the bus going, oh, nice, from the other side. I look round and I can't necessarily see who it is. And there are people come up to me and they say, will you do the, will you just do it? Will you do it? And you know, there was a guy, he actually stopped his car in the middle of the road to get me to do it. He just stopped. There was traffic piling up behind him. He said, go on, do it, do it. He didn't even have to say what, right? He just said, do it. So there you go. Now, who else we got? Alexandre says, you're always entertaining in whatever video I see you in. That's very kind of you, Alexandre or Alexandre. A lot of your performance seemed mostly improvised. How do you manage to stay so upbeat, energetic and creative on the spot? I find myself exhausted most of the time. Thank you for making me laugh so much. Oh, well, what a lovely letter, Alexandre. Improvised. I kind of improvise them by going into schools and performing them, and then it's called like you freeze the improvisation. You keep it. Jazz musicians do this, They make up a little tune when they're gigging together, when they're jamming together, yeah? And then they try and remember it, or they record it, and then they make that part of their compositions. Well, it's a little bit like that with me. I'll make up something when I'm in a school and then think, oh, I remember that. And then I might write it down, and then it sort of becomes a performance piece. And then how do I manage to stay so upbeat, energetic and creative on the spot? Well, one way is if Laura gives me butternut, that's about to say butternut scotch, but I don't think it is. That's butternut squash. I'll get this right. There's what's that stuff called? Butterscotch. That's it, but it wasn't. That's what you gave me. Butterscotch is not the same as butternut squash. Butterscotch is that sweet, isn't it? Yeah, good, got that right. So butternut squash wrap. That would make quite a good rhythm, actually. Butternut squash wrap. Butternut squash wrap. You see, phrases like that, they become things that you can use. And you say, well, how do you manage? Well, it's like that. I eat good fresh fruit, all that. And I'm sorry you find yourself exhausted, Alexandra. Maybe have some butternut squash wrap as well. Did I say that? I did say that all right, didn't I? Good. Oliver says, big fan of yours. Thought I'd leave you a little joke. How do you make a tissue dance? Put a little boogie into it. Have I got... Anyone explain that joke? No? What? Bogey. How do you make a tissue dance? Put a little bogey into it. Oh, I see. Hope it's not too inappropriate. Well, it is. It's really inappropriate. And I'm really sorry I said it. I'd also really appreciate it if you could shout out Leafy on Twitch. So Leafy, who's spelt Leifeh. So there we are. I've done that. And then Simon from the Czech Republic says, thank you for writing and performing your wonderful poems and stories. Last year I performed hot food. There it is again. Yes, we sit down to eat, and the potato's a bit hot, so I only put a little bit on my fork and I blow till it's cool, just cool, into the mouth. Nice, there it is again. On an English competition where students say poems or sing. And guess what? Says Simon, I finished first in my category. Not only that, I also got the Audiences Award since that year they were allowed to vote. And that's all thanks to you. Well, thank you, Simon. Everyone was laughing when I got to the tongue-clicking part. Yeah. I'm very glad that you're still performing to this day. Yeah, no, I am still performing. I haven't given up yet, mate. Never stop. Now, for some more news. Did you know that as well as my poems, I've also formed series of some of my longer books on YouTube. They're available to view on the channel now. So if you haven't seen it already, we've got a book of mine which is called You're Thinking About Donuts, available to watch. There we go. And are we watching that? A little bit of that? No, it's just a thing, it's just a thumbnail. Right, very good. And another story that's already up to enjoy. This is one of my favourites. This is Till Owlyglass. Till Owlyglass, yep. And, oh, did I miss a page? Oh, I did, didn't I? Yeah, I missed a page. I'll come back to that, don't worry. Oh, I promise. Okay, and so another story that's already up to enjoy is Till Owlyglass. That's based on a German story called Till Eulenspiegel. And here, if it's ready now, Dave, is a little taster from Till Owlyglass. A long time ago, when I was young, I went to stay in Germany with my mum and dad and brother. Mum and dad were very busy in the mornings, working. So me and my brother were often left on our own until dinner time. Most of the time we had to stay in our room and play or read. After a while, as I'm sure you can imagine, we got bored. And you know what happens when children get bored? They get into trouble. And that's just what happened to us. There was the time we climbed out of the window onto the roof and dropped bits of bread on the heads of the people walking along below. There was the time we did pretend flying, and my brother did his pretend flying off the end of the bed and landed on his face. And there was the time we played football with my dad's shoes, and one of the shoes went flying out the window. We got into so much trouble. My mum and dad just didn't know what to do. Hi again. In the end, if you enjoyed that, all right, you might be interested to know that we've just finished recording a sequel to You're Thinking About Donuts. We've recorded You're Thinking About Tomatoes. So we've got donuts and then tomatoes. So it's 2 whole books. So stand by for tomatoes. So keep your eyes peeled for that. It's going to be released on the channel very soon. We keep them coming. So, quite recently we put up some of Jelly Boots, Smelly Boots. We might come back to that in a minute. Raoul from Rotterdam says, I live in the Netherlands and I'm 11 years old. Hello, Raoul. Me and my brother really like your hot food video. It does seem to be the favourite. It makes us laugh really loud. Did you make this story up or did it really happen? I can tell you it really happened. My dad, we would have soup or potato or anything like that, and we would all be blowing on it, going like this. And then my dad, he'd take a great big chunk or a great big spoonful. Oh, it's really hot here, it's really hot. Watch out, everybody. It's really hot. And we go, well, we know that. We've just been blowing on it for the last 5 minutes. So I don't know. My dad, he was like that. He just thought he had to kind of tell us about that. Anyway, so there we go. I have some questions for you. Do you have a pet? Oh dear. Oh dear, oh dear. We had 2 cats. One was called Tony. The other was called Benny. And they were lovely guys, lovely brothers. They were what we call in England a ginger cat or a marmalade cat. They were. And they were very, very nice and very fond of each other. And then Benny died and Tony was lonely. Tony wandered round the house going, roar. It was strange actually, because he used to meow. He'd go meow like most cats. And the moment Benny died, he got this new kind of meow. He kind of went roar. And I used to think he sang, where's Benny? Roar. He would be halfway through eating, right? So he'd have something to eat. And then he'd look up in the middle of it. And then turn round, go to the entrance of the kitchen and go, roar. I think he was looking for Benny, because when they ate, they used to try and eat each other's food. They each had a bowl next to each other like that, you see. And then Tony would eat there and Benny would eat there, and then Tony would go, oh, yours looks nice. And he'd go over to Benny's, and then Benny would go, oh, yours looks nice. And they'd end up eating each other's. Well, and then he used to fight a bit. And then when Benny died, Tony had no one to fight over with the food. So he go, where are you, Benny? And then I'm afraid Tony it was getting older and older. And oh dear, you saw this, didn't you, Laura? Tony's back legs didn't work very well. So his front legs worked and his back legs didn't. So it wasn't long after that, I'm afraid, Tony passed away. So, but we've got their ashes. Yes, we've got their ashes. We've got Tony and Benny, and in a little sort of ginger, sounds a bit funny really, but anyway, there's a little orange doll, sort of cat dolls they are really. They're sort of like a model of a cat, and their ashes are going to be in them. So anyway, so we remember Tony and Benny. We're very, very fond of them. So you've asked about pets. What is your favourite colour? I like the colour, in fact I'm not wearing any today. You know the colour of jeans when they get a bit faded? It's sort of like a faded blue. I think that's my favourite colour. No, mate, not yours. Yeah, no, Laura's got a sort of all-in-one thing. I don't even know what they're called, Laura, but anyway, the thing she's got, it's sort of like an American all-in-one denim thing. That's my colour. What kind of music do you like? Well, I suppose my favourite music is the blues, particularly when it's electric guitar blues from Chicago. That's my kind of favourite, but lots of music I like. And Raoul says he hopes I had time to answer my question, because that would be nice. Asha writes, hello, Mr. Rosen. My question for you is, did you have a favourite author when you were a child? If so, who? Well, my favourite authors who wrote lots of books, there was a lady called Rosemary Sutcliffe and another one called Geoffrey Treece and a Canadian author called Ernest Thompson Seton. And they were my favourite authors, but my favourite book was a German book called Emil and the Detectives by Erich Kästner. and that was my favourite book. Okay, well, thank you, Asher. Shout out to Mina from her dad, Andrew Barron, who's given us his Twitter address. Do you want me to say that, Andrew? It's called @SketchyDad. Well, thank you, Andrew. Me and my daughter are big fans. We often read your poems or watch them on YouTube. I've written the poem below based on some of the sentences I found myself saying to my daughter, especially when she was very young. He says of them, Andrew, that they're ridiculous. So here's things that he says, ridiculous things you've made me say, Mina. Are you eating ice cream with a crayon? Don't stab the Christmas tree with that horse. No, you can't eat the stairs. Take that sausage out of your hat. We can't comb our eyeballs, love. Bananas aren't for that. Why are you shouting at the dog's legs? Great lines. I love that. That's really good. Thank you, Andrew. Thank you for those. And I'm sure Mina did Mina find those funny? Well, I think we did, didn't we? Did we like those? Did you like that, Matt? Yeah, Matt's nodding. A lot of nodding there. What about you, Dave? Did you like those? Yep, Dave liked it. Laura, did you like that? Yeah, no, we all like that. Well done, Andrew. That's 4 of us in here. Timur, also known as Twister TH or Mr. Twister, says, hello, Michael Rosen. Good to see you live streaming again, sir. Yeah, you may or may not remember me as that guy named Timur who listens to your poems and public speeches at his office job. Anyway. I wonder what that means. I think he means he's supposed to be at work, but he's watching this instead of being at work. Do you have fun memories of filming a TV program called Reading Aloud? Yes, that was a long time ago. Were you in it or something? I love this show and the atmosphere, you say, bringing your audience. I bet watching you riding a boat or hanging out in interesting places would make some funny or memorable moments. Well, funnily enough, TV are not knocking on my door saying, please make a TV program. Please travel all around the world and we'll film you. They don't ask me. I don't know why. If ever you get an opportunity, would you create a biographical comic book series about yourself? What a great idea. We've got a comic book based on that footballer, Zlatan Ibrahimovic. He brought it out in France, so it's in French, and it's just called Zlatan. And it's all about sort of Zlatan's life and all the different languages and all the tricks he gets up to on the field. And it's really, really good. But I'm not as famous as Zlatan Ibrahimovic, so I don't think anyone's going to be creating a whole comic book series all about me. But he says it would be interesting to see adaptations of your poems and your life moments with you portrayed as a cartoony comic book character. Hey, I'm beginning to like this. I don't know if somebody wants to do that. That would be great. It'd be a comic book. There'd be hot food, there'd be the family all sitting round and going and all that sort of stuff. Or the go-kart, the one where I came zooming down the hill and I broke my front tooth. You can see that one on our YouTube channel. Yeah. And, well, as it happens, now I think about it, You're Thinking About Tomatoes is this book I wrote. And you're going to be able to see me telling all that up here on the channel fairly soon. And I've approached someone and we're going to make it into a graphic novel. Yeah. God, that sounds so great. A graphic novel. Yeah, we are. And he's already started doing some of the drawings. I think we're going to crowdfund it and then you'll be able to see that. But if that works, maybe... What do you think, Laura? Do you think it's a good idea that Timur's had, that we could do sort of like comic series based on my poems and my life and stuff? And maybe the guy who does the Tomatoes graphic novel, he could do that. Why not? Yeah, we could show it here, couldn't we? Yeah. Dave's concentrating. He's not listening. Never mind. Okay. Now what have we got? Some more jokes. Oh, well, here's one from my own joke book. Have you got a picture of that one, Dave? Are you showing the joke book? Yeah. Okay. So here's one. A man walks into this cafe. It was a Greek cafe. He said, this is fun. Yes, it's really fun. The chef has a very good sense of hummus. Oh, no, never mind. Okay, what's brown and sticky? Oh, that's a bad joke, is it? Yeah. Oh, no, it's a stick. Yeah. Did you like that one? Brown and sticky. What else have we got? Why did the fly fly? Because the spider. You get that? Spider. Yeah, no. How does Darth Vader like his toast? On the dark side. And what do you get if you cross an ape and a prawn? A shrimpanzee. And what do you call a nose with no body? Nobody knows. Yeah, nobody. No, anyway, never mind. Okay, and then from Abby, who's Mrs. Coombs, can you give Year 4 at St Aidan's in Croydon a shout out? I most certainly can. Hello, Year 4 at St Aidan's. We're currently studying poetry using the CLPE unit, All About You. Well, that's good. Their favourite poem is No Breathing in Class. No breathing. We've got a few kids who could give you a run for your money performing it. I bet you can. Well, that's wonderful if you are having fun performing my poems, and then you can make up your own and perform them. Because that's what's fun, you see. You use your arms, you use your face, you use your voice. What I sometimes think, you see, when you've got a band, you've got a guitar, maybe a keyboard, some drums, and a singer. All right? Well, when you are performing a poem, you've got instruments. And here's one, and here's another. And then there's your voice that can be high or low. You can talk very quickly, or you can talk slowly, or you can talk like a mixture. 1 minute you can go quick, another minute you go rather slow, and you go up and down. So you've got these things. And then when you're doing a poem that's got a bit of a rhythm, you can feel the pulse of the poem with your body. You see, like that. Down behind the dustbin, I met a dog called Sid. He said he didn't know me, but I'm pretty sure he did. Exactly. So you feel the pulse in your body. So it's like an instrument. That's a bit like the drum in a band, and you're doing it visually, doing it so you can see the rhythm. It's amazing. How can you see a rhythm? You can, like this. Yeah? You see, that's the magic of performing poems. So it's lovely that you perform mine, but have a go at performing your own, yeah? James Pete has been a big fan for ages, and he says, hello, Michael. I'd like it if you could say my name. No, I don't think I will, no. Oh, no, I have. And here's a joke I have for you. What's a pirate's favourite subject? Art. Did I do that right? Did I do all right? James Pete said your name. Corvus from Germany has sent in some jokes. What do you call an alligator in a vest? Any ideas? What do you call an alligator? Dave, any idea? What do you call an alligator in a vest? No? An investigator, Dave. Get it? Alligator in a vest. Yeah? Yeah, no, Dave liked that one. He did. What do you call a fish without an eye? Fish. It's got no eye. Do you see that? Fish. Here's a slightly longer joke. Near the end of a long, busy school day, all the students in Marvin's class wanted nothing more than to go home. All right then, the teacher said, whoever can answer the next question correctly is free to go. Very excited. Marvin already began packing his stuff up. Now, hold it there. Who's packing their bag early, the teacher asked. I am, Marvin said, and went straight out the door. Shout out to Nathan. He and his friends are big fans of your work. Hello, Nathan. I was wondering if you could give me an address for me to send a photo to get signed by you if possible. Well, Nathan, I do. I have a little card that I do send out. There's a photograph of me. You'll have to find somehow or other, somewhere. I can't put out my address just like that. But you might find a way to write to me if you go to my website, michaelrosen, all one word, .co.uk. In the top corner, it tells you how to get in touch with me. And if you write there, I could maybe send you a photograph of me signed. I can sign it. So there we are. Stephen writes, I'm really a big fan of your poems and stories. I've always wanted to ask you something. Whatever happened to your brother Brian and your friends Mart and Haribo? Well, I don't know whether you were watching earlier, but I told you about Haribo. Now, my friend Mart, my great friend Mart, he studied rocks. Yeah, he did. He studied rocks. And do you know what he became? He became the professor of geology at the University of Chicago in Illinois. And he is the world expert. All right, look, here is the Earth. Luckily, Laura's given me some satsumas. So look, here's the Earth. Now, you know, like you think you're standing on firm ground on the Earth. Well, in fact, the surface of the Earth moves a little bit. And if you think about it, there's big land bits and there's a lot of sea. Well, imagine it was like a piece of toast floating in a bowl of soup. The toast moves, and that's what happens to the big land masses of Eurasia, of the Americas, of Australasia and so on. They move, and you know what that's called? Tectonic plates. They move like this round the world. So it's like they're like bits of toast in your soup. And the world expert on that is Martin Flower. Look him up. That's his name. And he's the world expert on tectonic plates moving. My brother Brian has worked all his life at the Natural History Museum in London. That's not the same as the Natural History Museum in A Night in the Museum. That's in New York City. My brother, he's worked in the Natural History Museum, and very soon, look out for this, there's a new vid is going to go up all about my brother Brian working in the Natural History Museum. I'll just tell you this, he lives in a cave underneath the museum. He wears a leopard skin bikini, all right? He's got a big club. So it's all about my brother Brian. He's an expert on fossils. Do you know what a fossil is? It's an animal that got turned to stone, and my brother's a fossil. My brother looks after fossils at the Natural History Museum, and I've got a whole new video that's going to come out. You're going to be able to see that on the channel fairly soon. And I've got to give a shout out for Stephen's sister Stephanie. Hi Stephanie. Sam wants to say thank you for being a poet and a writer and being a big part of my childhood. Here's a joke. I once saw a Mexican magician. He claimed he could teleport. He announced to the crowd, on the count of 3, I will disappear. And he began to count down. 1, 2. Seemingly out of nowhere, there was a flash and a cloud of smoke, and when it cleared, the magician was nowhere to be seen. He had disappeared without a trace. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, that's good. Do you like that one, Dave? You did. No, Dave liked that. Big thumbs up from Dave. You can't hear Dave, but I promise you he is there. And we've got more news. I have started a new monthly newsletter. Yes, and you can get it via my website. You ready for the website again? Michael Rosen. Remember Michael, by the way, spelled A-E-L at the end, all right, as if it's Michael, yes? I say so, michaelrosen.co.uk. Now, if you go to the homepage on my website and fill in the box with your email address if you'd like to receive the newsletter. It might be useful for some of you teachers and grown-ups who are watching. You'll be updated on any news, new books, my live appearances and shows. You'll get that on a newsletter. Yes, have we got the homepage up there, Dave? Very good. Thank you very much. So there we are. Harrison writes, first and foremost, can you do your hot food poem nice? I'm sure you've already been asked a lot to do that, so sorry. Maybe we've done enough of that. Maybe we've done enough noise? I think we probably have, haven't we? Yeah. And have you ever visited Australia? And if so, what are your thoughts of it? Yes, I've visited Australia several times. And way back in 1987 to 88, I was there in Australia for something like 7 or 8 months, I think. So we were in Perth and then Melbourne, and we went to Albury-Wodonga and a bit in Sydney. So yeah, I just thought it's amazing. It's a wonderful place. Cottesloe Beach in Perth, one of the nicest, most beautiful places I think I've ever been. Margaret River, south of Perth, that was absolutely wonderful. In fact, if you look in my book, You Wait Till I'm Older Than You, there's a whole story about being in Australia. And if you look on my YouTube channel, yes, if you look right here and look up Australia, there's the whole story of what happened to us in Australia. Eddie, he trod on a scorpion, and I said, they don't have scorpions in Australia. He said, Dad, it's a scorpion. I said, they don't have scorpions in Australia. He said, Dad, it's a scorpion. I went over there and I said, stand back, everybody. That is a scorpion. Exactly. Oh, yeah, and I got to know about all sorts of things. What were they? Blue tongues. There was a blue tongue in the shower, in this outside shower, sitting there going, ah. So, yeah, I learnt a lot of things in Australia. I absolutely loved it. How did you learn that famous thing you do in the poem? The pop sound. P.S. I can do it too. That's from the SOS. One more time. Okay. You kind of make a little thing like you're pulling your lips in. and you do it as tightly as you can. And then you open your mouth as quickly as you can, trying to leave your tongue on the roof of your mouth. One more time. That was quite a good one, actually, wasn't it? Yeah. So that's how you do it. There you go. And you can do it as well, SOS. That's lovely. Ariesto says, you are my favourite book. No, book writer. Sorry, I didn't read that right. You're my favourite book writer since I was a young lad. I wonder how old you are now, Ariesto. How do you feel about writing books? I love it. I mean, it's what a treat. Sometimes it feels a bit of a challenge, like, when you see a hill and you think, oh, I'd love to see the view from the top of the hill. In London here, we've got a place, it's called Primrose Hill. And you think, oh, I want to look out all over London. And another one at a place called Alexandra Palace. And you think, oh, I'd love to go up there and see the view over London. And then you think, it's a bit of a challenge. Because, you've got to climb up there and so on. So you climb and you climb and you climb. And the view is fantastic. Well, it's a bit like that writing. You sort of know that you've got to put one step after another. But you know that when you get there and it's done, it's fantastic and it's amazing. And you have a view, don't you? When you write a book, you can look back at what you've written. This book that I was talking about earlier, Uncle Gob and the Plot. You see that was a book that was a sort of bit of a challenge to write. It begins, Chapter 1, the middle of the night. It was the middle of the night. If you've read what this chapter is called, the middle of the night, you already know that it was the middle of the night. If you didn't read what this chapter is called, you would have missed that it was called the middle of the night. No worries, because now you do know that it was the middle of the night. It's an interesting opening to a book. So that was like the first step. Every journey begins with one small step. So it's a bit like that. So I hope that answers your question. What's the first impression you have when you're making a book? That depends. It might be like a little idea, something. I was thinking just the other day about a man and a woman. I saw they were in France and they'd made lots of moving people in the garden so that when the wind blew, the people moved. It's what you call automata. I thought that's an idea for a story there about a couple who make automata. Do they make automata because maybe they haven't got children, or do they make automata because they got children? And then what would be this plot of the story? Maybe the automata would take over the house. Anyway, that's how it feels like when you start writing a story. And what makes you stay writing for young children? Well, when I visit schools and libraries and book festivals, people seem to like what I write. So that's how it works. Ferb Cubed has sent in a joke. Why don't people eat clocks? Why don't people eat clocks? It's very time consuming. And Raphael, 16 years old and from Austria. Guten Tag, Raphael. When I was about 13, I think, I found your poems on YouTube and they sort of impressed me. Thank you. That time I wasn't really good in English. Well, you certainly are now, Raphael. Sehr gut, Raphael. So my school report told me that. And German, you say, is my native language. Du sprichst Deutsch, denke ich. Still, I started watching your YouTube videos and I pretty much learnt English through them. Oh, wow. Raphael, that's amazing that you learn English by watching my vids. I just want to say thanks for your wonderful work. Well, danke schön. Danke schön, Raphael. And bitte schön as well, because you're thanking me. In German, those folks who don't read German, we say thank you very much, and the other person says you're welcome. Well, in German, you say danke schön, and the other person says bitte schön, or just bitte. So we have different ways of saying you're welcome. In French, you might say merci beaucoup, and the other person might say pas de quoi, which means sort of it was nothing. I've got some piece of advice. Thank you, Raphael. What is your advice? Never stop eating hot food. Well, actually, it was my dad who ate the hot food, wasn't it? I'm not the biggest comedian, you say, but here's a joke for you. Found in a heap of recycled files donated to our school was this curiously labelled folder. Excuses I have used. Yeah, that's good. Hi, Michael, I write from Italy. Wow, these people, you come from Australia, so I have to say to you, buongiorno. After knowing you for the memes, I watched some of your poems and I love them. Grazie, molte grazie. So this is from Michele Mosena. I think it's how you say your name, maybe. I think it was one S, it's Mosena. Looking across at Laura, she speaks Italian. I especially love the Nasty series. Well, thank you. Grazie again. I wish that book was translated in Italian. Well, because I would have loved it as a kid. If ever I have kids, I will totally read it to them. Well, Michele, I think in my pile of books here, it just so happens, look what I've got. I think I've got a book that's been translated into Italian. Look, I don't know whether you can see this there, Dave. Look, attenti al cane. I think that means in Italian something like, look out, there's a dog. Is that what it means, Laura? Do you know? Attenti al cane, or maybe beware the dog. Ah, maybe it's what you put up and say. Yeah, attenti al cane. And then it says, quale bambino non desidera un cane con cui giocare? Ma un cane non è come un peluche. Non è da tutti sapersene prendere cura. Parola di strudel. So the dog's called Strudel. I love it. So there, that's one's in Italian. And then that one in English is choosing crumble. And so in Italian, they've called it choosing strudel. I love it. I love apple strudel. I love, back with you in Austria, Apfelstrudel. Sehr gut. So this one is called Le prodigiose puzzette di pesce batuffolo. And that in English is called Fluff the Farting Fish. So I don't know, my Italian is not good. It's something like, I think that means the prodigious farter of the fish, who's called batuffolo. So there, and that says, che cosa fareste al posto di Elvira se invece del cucciolo tanto desiderato vi regalassero un insulso pesce rosso? So there's a lovely, 2 books translated into Italian. Well, I'm really very lucky. When I saw that come through the post, I thought that's wonderful. Let's see if I can say this. Illustrazioni di Tony Ross. Illustrazioni di Tony Ross. So there. So I hope that's all right for you, Michele. So you could look out for those. They're published by Feltrinelli Kids. Thank you. The Bambini, the kids. Now, who's this from? Is this still Michele? I think it is. So, Jace now we've got. Jace has emailed a joke. What do you call a train loaded with toffee? A choo-choo train. And can you read out my YouTube name? It's The Train Guy 19. Well, it would be, wouldn't it? Mind you, you could call yourself The Choo-Choo Train, couldn't you? Well, that's nice, Jace. Thank you. And Joel writes, I saw your video about the stream today and I instantly had a question bubbling away in my mind. Do you know, I like that idea that inside your mind it's bubbling. That's what's called a metaphor, isn't it? Because ideas don't really bubble, but we think of images to explain things, and that's great. So in your mind, bloop, 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 bloop. Can you make that noise? Bloop, 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 bloop. You could write a poem about something boiling or bubbling sounds, and the chorus or the noise you make underneath it could be bloop, 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 and that would be the rhythm. Or group of you could go bloop, bloop, and the other group could be going bloop, 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 and you could make a little kind of bubbly chorus, and then you could make up a poem over the top about, I don't know, about boiling some water to make a cup of tea. That way you can make things interesting, you see, just by using the rhythm that you can make with the sounds you make. So, Joel says, as a small kid, and still today, I love the show, Thomas the Tank Engine and Friends. Do you know who the name of the person who first did the voice for Thomas the Tank Engine? Ringo Starr of the Beatles. Oh yes, Ringo Starr. I used to be in the Beatles. I think I had some very important messages. I think it has some very important messages behind most of the episodes, and the model work in the classic series is just mind-boggling to me, says Joel. And I wanted to ask you if you liked the show growing up as well. Joel, I'm 72. That show didn't start appearing until I was about 50. So I wasn't still growing up then, Joel. So, but I read the books when I was a boy, because the very first of the Thomas the Tank Engine books came out, I think, in 1949. You can check on Wiki for that, see whether I've remembered that properly. They're written by the Reverend Audrey. What was his first name? James? William? Anyone remember? Anyway, his last name's Audrey. And do you know, I met him. He was 95 and I met him at a book fair. Okay, so I met Mr. Reverend Audrey. He was a vicar, he was a church minister, and I met him. And yeah, when I was a kiddie, I loved it. And you know, I can still remember that picture when the engine is bricked up in the tunnel and you can just see the engine peeping out, wanting to come out. And I thought that was so scary when I was about 5 or 6. Pictures from books when you're very young, they last all your life. And I can still see it. It wasn't Thomas who was bricked up. Anyone remember the name of the engine who was... No? Was it Henry? Maybe somebody watching will remember. Maybe you're shouting it out and I can't hear. Or maybe it'll come up on Super Chat. Yes, if you know the name of the engine who was bricked up in the tunnel, right, in Thomas the Tank Engine, you send it to me on Super Chat and I'll tell it in a bit later. So here's a little joke. It says, Joel, how do locomotives hear? Through the engineers. Now maybe Joel is American because the train driver in American is called the engineer. Do you remember Casey Jones? Casey Jones riding on his engine. Well, Casey Jones, so we call them in England the train driver, but in America they call them the engineer. And it's a great name to call them because a train driver of those old engines and even the modern ones, they were engineers, people who knew how to mend the engine. So that's great. Let's have a look. Is anyone? Ah, yes, Emperor Eku, you were there. Very good. Who was bricked up in the tunnel? Henry. Thank you. Well done, Emperor Eku. If you want to leave me, Emperor Eku, your address, if you go to the top corner of michaelrosen.co.uk, all right, if you leave me your address, I might be able to send you a little something as a reward for knowing that it was Henry. And also you, Umi Sonoda, you were there, and I think someone else was there before, but it's gone through the Super Chat. Anyway, don't worry. We'll see how we get on. So, a question from Isaac, age 10. I was trying to write a story and can't work out what to do. Can you help? Yes, Isaac. Is there a story that you like? So maybe you like Harry Potter, or maybe you like one of the David Walliams stories. So you read that story, and then read it again and read it again. And now think about that story and think, well, what if I changed the place that it goes on? So let's say it's Harry Potter, and Harry Potter, we know its main places it goes on are 2 places. Home in the real world, and then he travels on a train, doesn't he? And he goes to Hogwarts. Well, what if you changed that and made that so... Maybe it's all about aliens. So let's forget it's about Harry Potter and all them. So you've got 3 aliens. And one of them's called, you could maybe make the name begin with H, and the other one begin with H-E, that's Hermione, yeah. And what's the other one called? Is he called Ron? No, that was the actor, wasn't it? No, he is called Ron. Yeah, that's it. So you've got Ron, Hermione and Harry. So you've got to change their names, so you're going to make them into aliens. And instead of it being home and a train and Hogwarts, why don't you make it one planet and then a trip on a spaceship to another planet? And they have to go to this other planet in order to learn how to be aliens. They've got to improve being aliens or something like that. Or they've got to be super wizards to run the whole universe. Ah, yes, now we've got it going. Super wizards or maybe masters of the universe. It's a school for master. Yeah, I'm making this up as I'm going along. You have them. It's a school to become a master of the universe. And it's on another planet. So there's planet X and planet Y. Give them other names. One's called Zeltoid and the other one's called... Exolobulus. So there's planet Exolobulus and there's planet Zeltoid, and they travel on this spaceship from one to the other. And when they get there, they've got a school for masters of the universe. So now you haven't really had to work very hard. You've just taken the Harry Potter idea, you see, and then started making up a new story. Well, you can do that with any story, any poem, whatever, and you just start with what's there and you start changing it around. You change what's called the setting, or you change the characters, you change the time frame, that's when it happens. It could be in the future, it could go back in the past. It could be a story set in Roman times, or in ancient Greek times, or in ancient Egypt. You see, you can just change it. So any story that you like, change it. That's one way to write. And if you watch Hollywood films, do you know they're nearly all made up of old stories? Or maybe you like ancient Greek myths. They're really good for making into stories about real people now. Yeah, you could take a story like Icarus and Daedalus, and really it's about people who wanted to fly to the moon. You see, because in that story they fly to the sun and their wings melt, the wax on their wings melt. Well, you could make up something like that, but instead it's in a space rocket like Apollo. You see, so that's how you can live in the world of story and make up new stories. I hope that helps you, Isaac. Terotto sent a joke. I was in Nando's having an argument with my friend. Then my other friend grabbed the plate of garlic bread and ran off with it. I wish you'd stop taking sides. That's good. Really good. I like that. I wish you'd stop taking sides. Yeah, you could even do that a bit more. Were you having an argument? Oh, it's the other friend. Yeah, no, it's good. I wish you'd stop taking sides. I love seeing how jokes are made, because that's, you have to make a joke. You have to sort of like carve it. Alex said you should read the entire Wuthering Heights in your signature style. I think that'd be pretty hard, Alex. Wuthering Heights is about 700 pages long. Someone check that. Okay, there we are. I'll look up, see how many pages Wuthering Heights is. I'll look on Super Chat for that. And that's by one of the Brontes, isn't it? It's by Emily Bronte, I think. All right, and read it in my style. Well, I couldn't really, because a lot of it is in very strong Yorkshire accent. And I'm not very good at a Yorkshire accent. I sort of just about get by with it. How could I do it in my own signature style? Nice idea, Alex. I don't think I'll be doing that. Nathan, your poems and stories are an inspiration to me and many others. That's very kind of you. It was my birthday on the 23rd. I was just performing in a play called Little Women, performed, I'm not reading this properly, by the Centenary Theatre Company in Warrington. That's fantastic, Nathan. Well done, matey. Little Women, that's that lovely book by Louisa Alcott. Yep. And here's one more poem for the dustbin collection. Down behind the dustbin, I met a dog called Pat. Its bark sounded like a meow, so I thought it was a cat. You've got it. Right, now then, what have we got? These are all for Bear Hunt. So Mrs. Becky Waters, who's the head teacher at Dogsthorpe Infant School in Peterborough, says, we would love you to give us a shout out on the 24th as we named one of our EYFS classes, that's early years classes, after me. There's a Rosen class. Yes, go Rosen class. And we're going on a bear hunt, so if you could read this to them, we'll do a little bit of it. Chum, 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 chum. We're going on a bear hunt. We're going to catch a big one. What a beautiful day. We're not scared. Uh-oh. Grass. Long wavy grass. We can't go over it. We can't go under it. Oh, no. We got to go through it. You can do it with me. Shoo, 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 choo, 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 choo. We're going on a bear hunt. We're going to catch a big one. What a beautiful day. We're not scared. Uh-oh. Water. Very deep, cold water, or even a river. A river. A very deep, cold river. We can't go over it. We can't go under it. Oh, no. We got to go through it. Dive in, splosh. Ah, oh, it's so cold. Quick, start swimming. Breaststroke. Crawl. Ka-chung, 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 ka-chung. How about butterfly? Wee, wee, wee. Chum, 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 chum. There we are. There's a bit of bear hunt. I hope you enjoyed that. Very good. Emily Maguire, who's the Year 1 teacher at Pikemere Primary School. Big shout out for Year 1, Pikemere Primary School in Cheshire. I'm coming to Chester, you know, I think very soon anyway. My Year 1 class are huge fans. We love Bear Hunt. I'm trying to encourage them to read poetry for pleasure. I'm planning to show them your retellings of poetry. That's all you have to do. Press the button and show it and see whether they like it. Maybe start with chocolate cake. And they love me telling Bear Hunt. Well, that's very kind. Year 1, I hope you're having a nice time. And they say they love my facial expressions. I have no idea what you mean. And anytime they can just be silly. That's lovely. And also the Grove School in Berwick upon Tweed. I've been to Berwick several times, you know. We're a special school, and last term had our classroom turned into a sensory story. Oh, I love that. So you could go about the room, you could feel the forest, and then you could the water, or about the mud, sticky mud. Yeah, we're going on about how the children walk through the classroom and stop to every part of your story. Thick, oozy mud was one of the favourites. Well, it would be. You know when you get your boot stuck in the mud and you pull it out. That's it. And then you might fall over into it. And then you pick up your hand. And you have to get rid of the mud. And that came from Amanda Williams, who's the class teacher. That's lovely. And Carol Campbell says, please shout out to her 2 grandchildren, Bobby Campbell and Bluebell Campbell. And we've done that. And Bobby is reading the poems in Poems A to Z. That was a collection I put together when I was the Children's Laureate. And I tried to put in all the poets who are performing in schools in England and Scotland, Wales and Northern Ireland. Tried to put in all the poets who are performing in schools at that time when I was the laureate, which was from 2007 to 2009. Bluebell keeps reading my take on Aesop's Fables. Yes, I did a version of Aesop's Fables. Forgot to bring that book with me, didn't I? So Aesop's Fables, and she loves the morals, as I did as a child, says Carol Campbell. They love my videos as well. Thanks very much, Carol. Shout out to Peak Class and Malala class at Southgate Primary School. Southgate Primary School, I wonder if that's in Hackney. Might be, might it? Well, yes, I used to go past there. Is there Southgate Primary School? Huge fans of yours, especially everything to do with good old Eddie. Yeah, we often think about Eddie. He was very, very special. So many, many thanks. And that's from Chris McGiven, the Year 6 teacher. Yeah. And here's a rap written by Shavonte Douglas in Year 6 at West Hill Primary School, Wandsworth. And the rap is called Sunshine. Now, I'm not great at rapping, so you have to sit with me, see whether I can manage it. People call me a fool, but at home I'm cool. I live with my dad, he's intense and mad. I like Barbie toys, is it good for boys? I stay up all night thinking how fun it would be in daylight. Now all I can do is dream, dream, dream. And that came from Eliza Bates. Nice little rap. I bet you, Eliza, you can do it about 100 times better than me. And if you know anybody who can beatbox, you know, make a bit of a rhythm with their mouth, you know, that sort of thing. If they can do that, and then while they're doing that, you say your rap over the top of it. People call me a fool, but at home I'm cool. I live with my dad, he's intense and mad. That sort of thing. Do that, and it'll be much, much better than me. And well done, Shavonte Douglas, and kind regards, Eliza Bates. Louise Pierce at Marfield School in Cheshire has sent in some questions from her Year 3 class. Which book took you the longest to write, says Corey? I think it was this one, because you can see it's quite fat. It's Uncle Gob and the Plot, and I got some of it a bit wrong. You know, when you're writing a story, it's okay to get some of it a bit wrong. Chat about it with the person next to you, your talk buddy, as they say in America, the person next to you, your partner. Talk about it with your mum, your dad, your teacher, your brother, sister, cousin, whatever. And sometimes it can come right. And that's what I did. I talked about the bit that didn't work. I had the wrong person solving the problem. You know what some people say all stories are? Someone is stuck up a tree, and the job is, how do they get out the tree? And that's a story. Because a lot of stories begin with someone with a kind of a problem. The posh word for it is a predicament. That means something where you're a bit stuck. Yeah? And the job is, how do you get out of the tree? How do you get out of the situation you're in that isn't good? So do you get help? Do you do it all because you're a very clever person? Do you have a magic person to help you? A genie, a wizard, whoever? Maybe a magic animal, something like that. Is there somebody trying to stop you getting out of the tree? Is there someone trying to stop you getting out of it? Who and why? What's their motive from stopping? What's their motive for stopping you? That means what's their reason to make it hard for you to get out of the predicament? Your character, you see. And that's a good way to start a story. Well, I had it going that this little boy Malcolm, who's got this rather horrible uncle called Uncle Gob, and he was in the problem as to how to get rid of Uncle Gob. And I had it that the mum helped him. And I got stuck with it because it was better if I could find a way that Malcolm could get rid of Uncle God. Well, of course, much better if it's Malcolm. So I worked away at it like that. And it took me quite a long time. Thank you, Corey. You say, do you have a special place where you write? Says Amelia, do you write with a special pen or pencil, or do you type your stories? Mostly my stories and poems I do on the computer. Special place where I write? No, but I have got an office. I've got an office. Laura said we should do some of our filming in the office, but I don't know whether maybe there's people next door making a noise. I don't know. We might do anyway. In fact, you can see a video that's up there now from Lit Film. Oh, I'm going to forget their name now. Lit Film Fest, and you can see a bit of my office in that video. When did you start writing books? My very first book, Isabel and Haller, came out in 1969. Wow, that's nearly 50 years ago, and it was a play called Backbone. And my first children's book came out in 1974, and that was called Mind Your Own Business. Not a very sensible thing to call a book, is it? You know, when I brought that out, I heard somebody, they were going to my local library and saying, excuse me, can we have a book, please? And the librarian said, yeah, what book would you like? Mind Your Own Business. Don't you be so rude, says the librarian. They said, it's not our fault. It's what Michael Rosen called it, wasn't it? Not quite sure why they went, but there you go. So that was the first book. What's your favourite book that you've written? I can't have a favourite, Ethan and Matteo. I can't have a favourite book. The other ones wouldn't like it. You know, if I said, oh, this is my favourite, hooray, all the others would go, oh, no, that's not fair. No, love us. No, I love this one. No, that's not fair. So I can't choose a favourite, really. Have you always been an author and poet, says Jasmine and Paige? No. I used to work for the BBC. I used to make TV programmes and radio programmes a long, long time ago. And I still do a bit of that. And I also teach at a university called Goldsmiths. What's the best book you have ever read, from Isaac and Ellie? I think it's a play by a man called William Shakespeare. And I love the plays, well, quite a few. What's my favourite? Maybe The Tempest, maybe King Lear. So I think that's probably my favourite. Though another one is a very old book called The Canterbury Tales by Geoffrey Chaucer. There are modern versions of it, one of them by a lady called Geraldine McCaughrean that you can get out the library. Who's your favourite character in your books? Says Amelia. A favourite character in my books? Cracker Snacker. In here, he's Malcolm's friend, and when Malcolm, sometimes things go what he says fizzy. He's trying to concentrate and then everything goes fizzy, and his friend Cracker Snacker is really kind and helps him. Yeah? What was your favourite toy as a child, says Mia and Connor? I had an old teddy that I used to chew. Not very nice, is it, really? But I was very fond of him, and that's why I chewed him. Yes. Who or what inspired you to write? My mum, my dad and my brother. They were the main people who inspired me to write. They were both teachers. Can you imagine that? Having both parents as teachers. You know, you're at school all day and you come home and your mum and dad, they're teachers, and they say, what did you do in school today? And instead of like some mums and dads, they say, what did you do in school today? And then they get bored very quickly. My parents really meant it. They say, what did you do in school today? I go, stuff. And they go, what stuff? And I go, well, sort of like history. History? That's really interesting. And I go, yeah, I can have my tea now. And they go, no, what sort of history were you doing? And I go, well, stuff like, I don't know, it's quite old. Yeah, well, it would be because it's history. And it would go on and on like that. That's what it's like having parents as teachers. So they inspired me to write. They loved poems. My mum used to walk around the house saying bits of poems. Tread softly, because you tread on my dreams. Mum? Yeah? I was just saying a line from a poem. And then my dad could do bits out of Shakespeare. Tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow creeps in this petty pace from day to day till the last and things like that, you see. So I had a lot of that. And then my brother used to imitate my dad. So in the bedroom, my dad might have told me and my brother off going, never let me see you doing that again. And in the bedroom, afterwards, after he's told us off, my brother shut the door and go, never let me see you doing that again. You see, and that got me thinking I could write things down that were imitating other people, because I saw my brother do it. You see, I saw my brother do it and I thought, well, I could do that. And so it's the three of them who inspired me. So that's from Corey, James, Imogen and Ryan. What do you do in your spare time? Well, yesterday, what did I do? It was Sunday afternoon, and at 4 o'clock something was on the telly, but I was there. Do you know what it was? So that's Sunday, yesterday, 4 o'clock, and I was there. Let's see whether somebody can answer on Snapchat. So we'll have a look and see. So we'll see. Now, I did ask some other questions, didn't I? I asked whether anybody knew how many pages there were in Wuthering Heights. Did anyone say? I don't think they've come up with that one. Anyway, we'll see. Okay, so I think I've answered it. And Liam says, I'm a big fan of yours, especially the poem Strict. That's why I wanted to ask you a special favour. I wanted to ask if you could say, hello, Liam Perella. And I'm going to guess you're in America, Liam, are you? Because you spelt favour F-A-V-O-R. Do you know how we spell favour over here? We spell it O-U-R. So there we are. Isn't that interesting? We spell words in different ways around the world. I wanted to ask if you could say, hello, Liam Perella, and I have. And I wanted to hear about how your brother Brian is doing. Well, my brother Brian, he's doing very well indeed. But my brother, he moved to South London. I live in North London. Yeah, so London, big place. Imagine it like a clock face like that. I live up here. My brother lives there. He moved to South London. I've hardly seen him in 40 years. That's a joke. I see my brother, but sometimes, London is so big, it feels like so far to get across it. Yeah? He wasn't all age to go. Yeah, so I've just got to look and see whether there were any answers to those questions, wasn't there? What was the question? No, anyway. Here we go. So Timur, is he back again? Oh, I think Timur's back again. I wrote a silly poem in Russian where I asked myself, what is truly a wonderful gift for a birthday, besides gadgets in nice boxes, and then I translated it into English and share it with you. It's a bit silly and cheesy, but I hope you like it and get a little gig out of it. And he says, my present is the air that I always breathe. My present is my heart that keeps my rhythms beat. My present is the world that I discover and learn. My present are the nephews that I take care for. That is brilliant, Timur, also known as Tweezer TH from Russia. So he's written it in Russia, Timur, and then translated it into English, and it's this beautiful poem. And look, any of you watching, you could make up a poem like that. My present is. And you could talk about the things that are precious to you, that matter to you, like the nephews, Timur's nephews that he takes care for, but also things that matter because they keep you alive. Timur's thought about air and heart and world and nephews. And when you do that, when you look at it, the nephews become as precious as the world, as your heart, as the air. And you could go from things that start here and go out, or things that are out there and come in. Yeah? So you can say, my present is. Whoops. My present is. My present is. I'm beginning to sound like what's that, Eminem. My name is. Anyway, now I'm doing my present is. But you could do that. It could be like a rap. My present is. And then you could do it. Well, Timur, that's wonderful. Oh, and you got a PS to it. And it goes, my present is the air that I always breathe. No breathing. So it's a little tribute to me at the end. That's lovely. Billy O'Rourke. Have you ever been to Hull, says Charlie Daubs. Yes, I have. I've been there twice. Do a dab for us. Oh dear. If I do this, my son, I have a son called Emil, he will never talk to me. He thinks it's so embarrassing. Do I really have to do it? I think maybe I better not. He'll stop talking to me. Really, he really will. So I really can't. I'm sorry about that. Let's have a look and see what else we got. Yeah, you're asking for the dab. I really dare. I want him to go on talking to me, you see. And Audiobooks for Kids again says, we once had you as our subject in English. That's good. I like that, the idea of geography history, Michael Rosen, French, Latin. That's good. I like that. Good. I wonder if Michael can rap My Name Is. No, I can't. I'm not allowed to. Billy O'Rourke says, oh, right, yes. Thank you for answering my previous question last time you went live. I'd like to ask, what's your opinion of the most important aspect of writing stories? The most important aspect is that you have to make, as you're writing it, you've got to think of the person reading it and what's going to make them want to go on reading it. What are you doing? Are you making a mystery of something? Are you making it so that the person wonders who's a good person, who's a bad person in your story? Do they want to know whether it's going to work out okay? So you've got to write into your story a way of making people want to read more. Get ready for the world's worst poem, says Billy O'Rourke. It's called Microwave. That's a good idea for a poem. What's going on with that big box sitting in the corner? All I wanted was for my lunch to get warmer. I'm standing before it, twiddling my fingers like the world's most anxious singer. What's it trying to tell me when it makes that beeping sound? Doesn't it like the pizza that I bought for £1? Am I bothering it? Should I back away and leave it alone? Or is it in need of a friend and lonely on its own? Why not make friends with a bowl? Maybe it'll help it behave. Or maybe they won't got out. Ruined the last line. Do it once more. Why not make friends with a bowl? Maybe it'll help it behave. Or maybe they won't get on well with a microwave. Very good, Billy. Very, very good indeed. So I like that. But you see, you can make a poem about anything. A microwave. You walk past the microwave 100 times and never think to make a poem, and then you think, a microwave? Could be quite mysterious. Maybe it's a person. Maybe the microwave can speak. Yes, I am a microwave. Okay? And then you speak. What do I like doing? What do I don't like doing? Who am I jealous of? I'm jealous of the oven. The oven gets more to do than me. It isn't fair. You got a poem. The Greeks class from Rendlesham Primary School love your performance poetry. We'd be excited if you could read out one of our poems. Thank you from Mrs. Howard, Mrs. Woodruff, Mrs. Harrison and all of the Greeks. Down behind the dustbin I met the class called Greeks. They were very pleased to see me as they'd been there for weeks. You got it. Can you hear children in the background? That's because we're on the top floor of a school. You might just be able to hear some children. What have we got next? Down behind the dustbin, I met the class called Greeks. They loved poems by Michael Rosen and they thought he looked antique. Yeah, not the only one actually. Yeah, that's good. Yeah, it's really good. Down behind the dustbin, I met the class called Greeks. They don't eat many vegetables, but they're always munching leeks. Yeah, it's all working, isn't it? Down behind the dustbin, I met the class called Greeks. They look like normal children, except they all had beaks. Down behind the dustbin, I met the class called Greeks. They had long tails, big ears, whiskers, and only spoke in squeaks. Down behind the dustbin, I met the class called Greeks. They said I inspired them to perform poems, aged 5, 7, and 6. It's a bit of a cheat, that one, isn't it? 5, 7, and 6. Yeah, down behind the dustbin, I met the class called Greeks. They're desperately hoping you read their poems as they love to hear you speak. Nearly. Lovely, thank you. More poems from West Hill Primary School, a poem from Kai Mitchell. Get in bed, rest your head, say good night without a fright. The day has passed, the night has come, climb into bed and kiss your mum. High five your dad, be a good lad. It's past your bedtime, so close your eyes, wait for a surprise, but just dream, dream, dream. Tremendous, I love the rhythm to that. And now Year 6 had a topic on World War II. Here's a poem by Maliha in Year 6 at West Hill, Solution War. I found myself frozen on the spot to hear the distant gunshots. There is silence. The harmony has begun. The soldiers came, put their hands in the air. Free. Shaking hand. A cheer came from the distant waves. This is a peaceful morning. It's the end of the war. Lovely. Friendship by Riverana, Year 6 at West Hill Primary. Side by side or miles apart. Real friends are always close to the heart. Friends stuck like glue will never come apart. Some friends are loyal and smart. Friends are very generous and good at art. Friendship's like a precious flower, ready to bloom every hour. It must stop growing or keep on flowering, but you'll have it forever. In capital letters, I like that. That's just like when you do comics and graphic novels, you can use capital letters, but you'll have it forever. And now for a shout out to Hurst class at the Iffley Academy. Class teacher Marcus Rush here says, we did an impromptu lesson around the poem Down Behind the Dustbin. We'd love it if you could read some out. Down behind the dustbin, I met a dog called Mike. He supported Oxford United and I told him to take a hike. Oh, well, thank you. That could be me, couldn't it? Down behind the dustbin, I met a dog called Becky, who sat behind the telly flat on her back, but she was very smelly. Down behind the dustbin, I met a dog called Nellie. We're going to get belly again, I think. Down behind the dustbin, I met a dog called Nellie. I said hello and tickled her belly. Down behind the dustbin, I met a dog called Dodger. He wanted to come to my house to become my lodger. Down behind the dustbin, I met a dog called Ollie. He was very, do that again. Down behind the dustbin, I met a dog called Ollie. He was being very silly. In a shopping trolley. Down behind the dustbin, I met a dog called Jack, who had a black cat and sat on a cat. Down behind the dustbin, I met a dog called Ella. She was having a sleepover with her friend called Bella. Down behind the dustbin, I met a dog called Taz. She was in a pretty dress, dancing to jazz. Do-do-do-do-do, bap, do-do-do-do-do, bap. Down behind the dustbin, I met a dog called Grace. She was eating chocolate cake, and it was all over her face. Down behind the dustbin, I met a dog called Charlene. She was playing basketball and was really very keen. That's good. I love those. I'm writing to you on behalf of our Year 5 classes at Denton West End Primary School in Manchester. Your live chat has come at a perfect time as our current literacy topic is poetry. The children in 5B and 5L started this half term by analysing a range of your poetry, and once we had a good understanding, we each wrote our own poems based on my poem Bathroom Fiddler. Yes, well, you can see Bathroom Fiddler on our channel here, and there's a few of them there which we might have time to do, we'll see. And they've enjoyed performing them. All right, so thank you very much for inspiring, fun and engaging poetry, says Miss Barclay and Miss Longley. Nice to see you. And they're Year 5 teachers at Denton West End Primary. And here's a bit more from West End Primary. This one's by Aston in 5L. I'm the garden goon, the garden raccoon, the swiddler and the niddler, the eater and the cheater. I break and I fake, I chiddle and I diddle when it's time for me to play, when I know it's time to eat and break. When I walk out the door to go and play, I don't play straight away, I fiddle and I quiddle. I pick up the muddy, disgusting football and I place the ball where I want. I get the white and blood-red coloured ball and I look up. I aim, I direct, I kick the ball with all my strength and might. It's rolling as fast as lightning, I hear a smash. Gulp! My mum heard! I grab the soggy melting mud, I grab my huge tub, I grab my bucket and collect the mud and splosh drops all the squishy gooey mud. I hear a plop in the tub. Hey, I'm having a mud bath! And that came from Aston. And that's a little bit like my Bathroom Fiddler. Any poem that you read or see or hear, you can take it and change it and make your own poem, just like Aston did. That's wonderful. And I've got some news. I've got some new editions of my books coming out. So a new edition, I've got my book of silly poems. Let's see whether we can find that somewhere. I think maybe Dave's going to put up a picture of it, and I've got it here. So as a new edition of that, my book of silly poems. That's got some poems in it, like, or some little jokes in there, like, do you remember this wonderful singer I used to love a lot, Bob Marley? And he used to say, what does Bob Marley like in his donuts? How does he like donuts? When he eats donuts, how does he like them? We're jamming, we hope you like jamming too. Do you know that song? No, never mind. Okay, so that's got, and some silly songs it's got in there. And then also we've got Bar Humbug. Have I brought that in? No, you've got a picture. Oh, well, there it is. Look, a new edition of Bar Humbug. And that's a story based on the Scrooge story called Christmas Carol. A Christmas Carol. That's my version of that. And then I've also got some of you grown-ups might like that if you're watching it. This is my memoir. And it, oh, look, there's me. Can you see that? And it's called So They Call You Pisher. That's what the book's called. So if some of you grown-ups want to know where I came from and how I came to be writing and things that happened to me when I was a boy, This is the story of me from 0 to 23, and also the life, quite a bit about my parents and some relatives of mine who, sad to say, died during the Second World War. So that tells that story. And then I've got a paperback edition of Jelly Boots and Smelly Boots. Okay, and maybe we can go to a clip of that now. We're going to hear a little bit of Jelly Boots, Smelly Boots. Welly boots. Welly boots, smelly boots, fill them up with jelly boots. Welly boots, smelly boots, see them on the telly boots. Welly boots, smelly boots, now they're in my belly boots. This poem comes from Jelly Boots, Smelly Boots, with wonderful pictures by David Tasman, published by Bloomsbury. Oh, and while I think about it, one of the songs that's in the book of silly songs there, the book of silly verse that I've got there, what did I do with it? Anyway, this one there is that one that I sometimes do that goes, I had the German measles, I had them very bad. They wrapped me in a blanket and put me in a van. The road was very bumpy, I nearly tumbled out. When I got to hospital, I heard a baby shout, Mama, Papa, take me home. Take me from this rusty home. I've been here a year or two. Now I want to be home with you. Here comes Dr. Glanister, sliding down the banister. Halfway down he ripped his pants, and now he's doing a cha-cha dance. Anyway, there we are, that's in there. Now, don't forget to check my website. I mentioned that to you before. That's, remember, michaelrosen.co.uk. That's all got all the latest stuff that I'm doing. Here's some dates that I've got lined up. Anyone who lives anywhere near Wimbledon in London, I'll be there on October the 7th, talking about Uncle Gob and doing some of my favourites and poems and stories. So I'd love to see you there in a great big tent on Wimbledon Common, I think it is. So look out for that. It's called the Wimbledon Book Fest. So that's on October the 7th. On the 12th of November, I'm going to be in Chester. Yes, it's in England as well. Some of you folks from America, I'm afraid. In England, it's going to be at the Story House. Do you know that? The Story House. And that's part of the Children's Book Show. Perhaps you can see that there. There might be some room for you to squeeze in there. There's going to be lots and lots of children for that. And then I've got some other dates coming up. I'm going to be at the Old Vic Theatre in London, where I might be talking about Bar Humbug and also Unexpected Twist. So the Old Vic. And I'm also going to be at the Royal Albert Hall. I'm not going to be in the main auditorium. I'm going to be in a big room to one side. And I'm going to be doing 2 shows at the Royal Albert Hall. So look on my events button. If you click on the events button on michaelrosen.co.uk and go to December, you'll see that I'm on in those 2 public venues. That's the Old Vic and the Royal Albert Hall. So look out for that. Can I say a big well done to Tottington Primary School for all their hard work. They've been writing and performing their own poems and are having their own film festival. Imagine that. Brilliant. So well done to all the pupils. Keep writing, keep performing, sending your poems in. Fantastic. Very, very good. And I think we're very nearly at the end, aren't we? So, well, look, I hope you've enjoyed the show. Thank you so much to all of you who've sent in poems and letters and jokes and so on. I've tried to read out as many as possible. Let's see whether there's any more on here that I can read out. Could I say hello to Casper and Milo? Yes, I've just said that was just disappearing off the screen. Daunting Skies says, greetings to Mr. Rosen. Well, look, we'll have to do another live stream, won't we? Because it's been good fun, isn't it? So I'm going to do one in the winter. So make sure you press the bell, dun, 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 ding-a-ling-ding, and subscribe to the channel. If you subscribe to the channel, then you know exactly when I'll be doing these things, all right? In the meantime, please do visit my website, latest news and details of what I'm doing, where I'm appearing next. Remember it again, Michael Rosen, all one word, .co.uk. And thank you very much, all of you on there. Thank you. How many pages makes a book and not a short story? I leave you with that question. That came from Zoe Zoleana. What's the difference between a book and a short story? What's the difference? I don't know.